Remember the last mile question? What do you do when you get to the station? We had this concrete barrier in the center of Canal Street, and CTA buses lined up in a single row, only boarding 2 or 3 buses at a time in front of the station. There's a new Union Station Transit Center, that's the opening event. There's Mayor Emanuel in there, and with an underground connection to the station. The underground pedway that goes from the station to the parking structure has been tapped into by the city, so you can get off that bus, go downstairs, be basically at track level, without having to cross any Chicago city streets, and that just opened in September. So we've been making progress in making that station better, some of that with our money, some of that with federal money, some of that in partnership with the city. The first and last mile connections are being improved in Chicago, and people riding our state trains, people riding our national trains are benefiting from that. Here are some of the things we've done at Union Station since 2010. $60 million in investments. The Legacy Club, the Metropolitan Lounge, the new center, the grand staircases. That's $1 million per staircase to redo those marble staircases that you might recall from the Untouchables movie at Union Station. We went to the same quarry in Italy where the marble came from in the first place to do it the right way. Now, it could have been, we've been forced to do that because it's a landmark, so why wait to be forced to do it? Let's just do it right. And that's what we did. And there's quirky little things. If you go to the station and go to the Great Hall, there's a video that's playing in the corner, or if you go to chicagounionstation.com and look at it, we have time lapse of what it took to redo those steps and the huge pieces of marble that we had to put in there. And we found quirky little things like the brass banister down the middle. When they built it in 1925, to make it level, they shimmed it with old newspapers. So we pulled out the old newspapers when we did it, and they're in the video, of 20-cent hamburgers and $5 hats and the rest. And that was $2 million, 2.3 I think it was for those 2 staircases. Plus air conditioning in the Great Hall, which enables us to use it for passengers. One of the reasons we're using the Great Hall is now it's usable. We're going to be spending upwards of $10 million in the next 2 years. That 200-foot long skylight that's above the Great Hall that had been blacked out during World War II, like all the railroad skylights. In 1990, we unblacked it out, and it has never drained properly from the day it was installed in 1925. So we have to redo that skylight. Cosmetically, the skylight that's there now will be redone, but a second skylight will be installed above it. There's been enough water intrusion into the building in something like 100 years. If you go to the Great Hall, you'll see some of the netting we're using to keep the plaster in place. That's all going to have to be redone, and redone right. Coming up at the end of next month, we'll be opening the former women's lounge at the station. You might recall back in those days, there was a men's lounge, which is where the Legacy Club is, and a women's lounge. The women's lounge is being reopened. It's been restored, the plaster work and the murals that are in there. We used to have events in the Great Hall, which means passengers couldn't use it. If someone writes us a big enough check nowadays, we will still do that, but that'll be our new event space. And guess what? There's a bigger market in Chicago for 200 and 300 person events in that room than there is for 3,000 and 4,000 person events like we were using in the Great Hall. So everybody benefits. And we've moved some back office elements out of the Great Hall and out of the concourse level of the station. If you go now to the station, 15 ticket windows across the way, plus a couple for Greyhound. Most people today aren't shoving dollar bills across the counter to us and say, print me a ticket, hit it with that embosser too, will you? That's not how people ride trains anymore. So we don't need 15 ticket windows for cash transactions at the concourse level of the station. I think we have now 3 ticket windows. They're up by the Great Hall. The long-term plan under both the Master Development Program and the Chicago Master Plan for the building is to gut that whole area out and let it be an open area for people to move back and forth between Metro trains and our trains. The slightest snafu in that building today causes massive problems at the concourse level because the 1990 renovation of that area has been outgrown. Outgrown by our ridership, outgrown by Metro's ridership, and there's plans afoot to redo that whole area, largely opening it up. And we've already taken a step by vacating the ticket office. We've taken a step by moving the Metropolitan Lounge out of the concourse level. The hope is to take where the Metropolitan Lounge was, gut that out, and make it the Hiawatha boarding lounge. So the Hiawatha passengers aren't lined up against a glass wall when it's 5 degrees to get their priority boarding, or shoved into the little room we use for the Hiawathas and the Empire Builder. And to get that done. Of course, all of this takes money, but before you can get the money, you need to have a plan. And we've been working on it. We now have pets on trains, including the Empire Builder. So you have a little doggy, a cat, that weighs less than 20 pounds. You're going only for about 7 hours or so. You can take them on the Hiawathas, you can take them on the Builder, you can take them elsewhere. We instituted this year train-side check bicycle service. We're hauling lots and lots of bikes. We've hauled 15,000 bikes over the summer, including some on the Hiawathas, because we're making it easier for you to take your bike on the Hiawathas and other trains too. And we'll be making some Wi-Fi improvements. We've already improved the Wi-Fi in the Great Hall at Union Station. So there was a discussion about the election coming up, right? I've heard people say, who am I going to vote for? And I've heard people say they want to vote for Mickey Mouse or other people. If you're looking for someone, there's Tom Hanks. What does Tom Hanks want to do if he was elected president? Well, in Parade magazine earlier in September, he says state-of-the-art national rail service would be a huge priority for him. Why can't we take a good train from St. Louis to Denver? We can't take any train from St. Louis to Denver today, unless you're, a grain of wheat or a lump of coal. Can't get there from here. So if you're looking for names, I'm not saying you should vote for Tom or Arun or Mark or Hillary or Donald or the others. If you're looking for a name, I'll offer you Tom Hanks, who says, I want more trains. He wants us to be like Europe, where it's cheap, efficient, and fast. So there you go. That's my only dip into politics today. And I'm now happy to answer any questions about automatic doors or anything else nationally with Amtrak before we turn it over to Arun. Well, let's get the automatic door question done first. Go ahead. What's your question about doors?
Whether they're going to be put in on Canal Street entrance.
The Canal Street entrance is being converted starting in a week or so to revolving doors. There's automatic doors there now. If you're talking about the east side of Canal. If you're talking about the west side of Canal, we have a couple of push-open actuated handicap doors. But no, we can't replace those door systems. If anything, it doesn't look exactly like it was when the station was built. The primary station entrance, which is hard to know because you'd have to know where it is to know it's there, is on Canal Street on the east side of Canal. And we have plans, and they're part of the master plan I was talking about before, to make that more clearly the primary entrance to the station. Those electric folding doors that are there now are going to be replaced between now and Thanksgiving, I hope, with powered revolving doors. So yes, there'll be door system improvements. Part of that $10 million a year, we've replaced all of the electric doors between the station and the platform throughout the building. We replaced them with doors that were built now versus 1990. We had dumb doors, dumb electric doors. So if a couple of passengers or our conductors or Metro's conductors decide to stand somewhere near the door and, how's your day? Oh, my day's good. How's your day? Oh, my day's bad. It would cause the doors to stay open. So we've got smarter doors that know to be open and closed. We had major cold air intrusion into the station. You would walk by our ticket office a couple winters ago and see the breath of our ticket agents down there. You'd see the Hertz people with, wearing jackets with space heaters that far away from them. We've spent a lot of money in the last 2 years on door system improvements and heating improvements. And if you've been through the station last winter, which admittedly was a mild winter, it was much, much better. Yes, Bob?
We're concerned, several people I've spoken to, about loss of station services, specifically along the Empire Builder route, removal of the agent, for example, from Winona, closing of Rugby, that is removal of station agent, and here are rumors news about Columbus going to reduce agent service.
Columbus has already gone to 5 days.
Okay, all of this couples down to what happens to check baggage service, and, well, I guess that's,
So what happens with check baggage service if you don't have an agent?
yeah.
All right. Agents don't do the kinds of volume across that counter that they did 3, 5, 7 years ago. More than half, well more than half of our tickets are sold with no human interaction at all. They use the computer, they use the app, they use their phone, they print their ticket, we scan their phone. So the dollar volume that those agents are handling has gone down dramatically and continues to fall. So what do we do about that? Well, firstly, we try to find other things for the agents to do. At Williston, North Dakota, those agents were selling bus tickets until the bus company decided it didn't want to run there anymore. In about a month and a half, the agents in Ann Arbor, Michigan will be selling Greyhound tickets in addition to Amtrak tickets because Greyhound is moving to our Ann Arbor station. So if we could find other things for the agents to do to justify the cost of an agent, we'll do so. And we'll work with communities to look at other ways to staff the station. When we unstaffed the Winona station, we went to the community and said, okay, we have good business reasons for doing this, but we want to keep Winona a welcoming place. And we brought somebody in from Kirkwood, Missouri, who runs the volunteer program at that station. Volunteers staff the Kirkwood, Missouri station 12 months a year, 20, for all 4 trains every day. Christmas Day, Thanksgiving morning, there are volunteers at the Kirkwood station who are helping people off and on the train and giving them information. We've tried to do that in Winona. We posted a job for a caretaker, hopefully a fuss budget caretaker like we have here, and no one took the job. We had to go to a temporary agency, you know, like Labor Ready, to find someone just to open and close the station. So it's a huge challenge. Now, can we maintain checked baggage at stations that don't have an agent? We've been experimenting with that at some stations around the country. One of the problems we've had is these antique Truman and Eisenhower era baggage cars that we've been using. It takes 2 people to even open the doors on those things, or 4 people to open the doors on those things, because they're huge and old, and you can't go to the folks who made them and buy parts. So I am personally hopeful that we'll be able to maintain checked baggage at places without agents, because the new baggage cars are easier to operate. And I'm told that we're going to have funding this fiscal year to take the lower level baggage area on some of our cars. We have Superliner coaches that are coach on the top, baggage on the bottom, to install more bike racks in those areas. So, and there's a huge, as you know, wheeled luggage and carry-on with the biggest allowance in the world, I think, for ground transportation or air transportation for carry-on bags. You know, 2 50-pounders plus another, plus another. Not a lot of people are checking bags unless they're going very far anymore. So, yeah, I don't think there's a perfect answer or a perfect solution, but having an agent for 2 trains a day and having that cost on top of the service is a challenge for us. So either you find more things for the agent to do, like sell Greyhound tickets in Ann Arbor or Williston, or you find another way that they can do some of the things for the company, and we have some agents who do that besides being a ticket agent. Or you have to wind up unstaffing the station. Now, nearly all of our unstaffings have taken place by attrition, not by layoff. We took the agent from Rugby, North Dakota, and moved that agent to the Minot station where they had an opening. We took the Winona agent and divvied them up, if I recall, between La Crosse and St. Paul. So we're not looking to do wholesale job elimination, but we are looking for business opportunities when they occur. And I think we've made a decision that says if it's going to be open 5 days, which are the right 5 days for it to be open? Is it always the Monday through Friday? And in our labor agreements, after a lot of research, we have found that they have to be 2 consecutive days off, but they don't have to be Saturday and Sunday. And we looked at the data for Columbus to see if there was a huge difference between ridership on a Friday and ridership on a Sunday and ridership on a Tuesday. And as it turned out, there wasn't much. But don't think that because it's only going to be open 5 days, it's automatically weekdays only. We want to make decisions that are best for the passengers, and if more people are riding on Saturday than on Tuesday, that's the day there should be an agent. So it's a tough process, and it's not easy. But the volume of money, the volume of cash, which is good, that's going down through our stations, because cash is expensive to manage, expensive to control, is down. And there's not as much for them to do as there was back in the day. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I wanted to follow